I am David Alzamendi, independent data architect and consultant, and today we're going to be looking at Microsoft Fabric Data Agents. Let's get started. So, as you know, Microsoft Fabric Data Agents have been around for some time. So previously they had a different name, but today we're going to look at some of the recent features released by Microsoft Fabric, especially at Microsoft Build in the last main conference. So let's get started with the definition. Then we're going to look at the configuration, and we'll do a couple of demos as we go, and we'll compare as well what Microsoft Fabric Data Agents are, but how they are different actually from the existing Copilot experience. And of course, we'll have to mention some of the existing limitations. Remember, Microsoft Fabric Data Agents are a public preview, so that means that they are not recommended for production workloads at the moment, but you can still go and deploy them and start running proof of concepts. And even if you want to release it to a production environment, just remember, it doesn't have any sort of service level agreements, but you can still get some return of investment for your data analytics platform if you want to deploy them. So what essentially Microsoft Fabric Data Agents are, it's just, I'll put it in plain English, a translator of a question to natural language. That's the only thing that you get out from Microsoft Fabric Data Agents. So let's go and have a quick look at the next slide. I might need to share my screen. Just a sec. And I will share my screen and we'll continue. There it is. So you remember, it's just it translates natural language to a query that can be executed within the Microsoft Fabric environment. That's all what it does. So you put a question, natural language, so the engine is going to translate, it's going to identify those data sources, it's going to generate a query, and then execute the query in the engine. So it gets as good as your data is, essentially. So if you define a poor semantic model or a poor database with poor naming convention, and your information is scattered across 100 tables, or is duplicated, or the data quality is bad, so this is going to translate essentially in a really bad user experience when using Microsoft Fabric Data Agents. That's something that you have to understand as well. On top of that, you have to remember, so this is new technology. So if you feed the Microsoft Fabric Data Agent with 100 tables, it's likely that the result for the prompts, they're not going to be good. It's essentially because it's really hard for the technology to understand where that information is being stored, especially if it's scattered across so many tables. So my recommendation, always start really small. So if you're going to go and start using Microsoft Fabric Data Agents, start really small. Start with a few tables. That the quality of the data is really good. That is going to be really easy for the large language models to understand how to translate, first of all, that natural question to a query, and then execute that query in your data source. And then you have to understand the difference between Fabric Copilot, or as well as Power BI Copilot, with Fabric Data Agents. So there are fundamental differences between these two technologies. First of all, the Copilot experience, specifically if you look at the Power BI Copilot experience, is really good because it's able to take advantage of a lot of more grounding data. So it can read all the relationships, the context of the visuals. So it has access to so much more information out of the box that potentially the user experience from the get-go will be better with Power BI Copilot. And we're going to test that as part of the demo. But if you go the Microsoft Fabric Data Agents path, you will have a lot of more flexibility. And that's the kind of flexibility that we were looking for. So not only from being able to customize what tables you serve to the Fabric Data Agent, but also to start thinking about code version control, to put that as part of a more mature release life cycle. So you'll be able to manage that as a data product, as a real solution. So you get a lot of more flexibility. You can see with Fabric Data Agents. Of course, it will take you more effort to go and customize many of those items, but potentially the end product will look much more like an enterprise solution than the Fabric Copilot experience. I have to say I've done proof of concepts with Fabric Copilot and Power BI Copilot a few times, as well as with the AI skills, now called Fabric Data Agents, a few times. And I still find that the Copilot experience is more reliable in regards to answering questions. But Fabric Data Agents is the technology that is evolving, essentially. So when we look at the future of asking questions and getting answers from our data, the future will be in Fabric Data Agents, 100%. And you can see in regards to flexibility, you can see already, so we're going to get all the integration with Copilot Studio, Teams, so we'll be able to embed that Fabric Data Agent experience in many more channels than only the Copilot option within the Microsoft Fabric ecosystem. So there you have. So you have advantages and disadvantages. For the two of them, hopefully some of these items, they help you choose how to move forward. And on top of this, remember, so essentially that the Power BI Copilot experience is already production ready, generally available for you to go and use. And Fabric Data Agents are still in public preview. On top of that, this is not like you should be using one or the other one. I think you should combine the two of them and try to enable as many channels for your users to take advantage of the information in your data analytics platform. So you should go and try to target rolling out the two different capabilities, potentially for the same type of users, but different use cases or for different type of users. So the idea is basically the more users are taking advantage of the data that we have in our data analytics platform, the better return of investment we are going to have in our solution. So remember that. So it's not one or the other one. So you're trying to deploy the two of them, and the two of them, they have some consideration that you have to consider when rolling them out. On top of that, couple of things that we have to mention in regards to limitations. So let's go through some of the limitations that I believe that are important. The first one that I want to highlight is the third bullet point in here. So, hey, it's not as good for complex joins. Some queries might be unreliable. So I believe that's important because if you are looking to go and use this for a complex scenario, you might find that it doesn't meet the criteria that you're looking for. So it's really important when rolling out any new technology to start small. Start with simple scenarios. I believe that, look, the simple questions that people want to ask to the data, so maybe 80 or 90% will be simple queries. right? What were the, as an example, what were the sales yesterday or during the past month, or what are the products that are being sold increasingly during the past year. So think of all the simple questions that you have to take into account. So, right, what were the sales yesterday? So make this relevant to your industry and to your business. I think it is important to remember that, but essentially you are trying to roll out this to cover basic and simple data questions initially. So don't focus on the complex queries yet, because the technology is not up to that challenge at this point in time. You might want to go and give it a go. That's fine. I'm saying your effort will be better spent on trying to help the users understand how to take advantage of Microsoft Fabric Copilot as well as data agents, instead of trying to technically overcome one of the limitations that are available in the Microsoft Fabric data agents. So I think that's really important. So I still have chat with customers, and they tell me, hey, we want to roll out this to be able to predict the sales during the upcoming year. Hey, look, let's start small. There's no need of us setting us up ourselves for failure. I think that's one of the takeaways. Start small, keep it simple, try to cover most of the simple data questions that people might want to ask. And of course, yes, collect the complex scenarios, so in the future, as the technology becomes better, so you can go and answer those questions as well. There are many more limitations like this than this one. So you can see here, big list available in the Microsoft Learn documentation about some of those limitations. So they go from permissions to security to how many tables they're allowed, how many columns. You can see a really long list here, because I think Microsoft wants us to understand from the get-go how you should be using this technology, and where the return of investment is for the effort that you're going to apply. So make sure you go through these limitations. In a nutshell, any complex thing that you want to achieve might not be supported at the moment. And I think that's a key consideration when rolling out this. So by understanding the limitations, you'll be able as well to understand to which group of users you want to start building Fabric data agents first. And why am I saying that? Is because you won't build one Fabric data agent that tries to answer all the questions in your data ecosystem. You will have to build Fabric data agents that they are specialized in a specific subset of data, or they're trying to answer specific questions related to a specific business case. So there won't be magic bullet here that you will have one Fabric data agent that answers all the data questions in your organization. And we've seen that as part of the strategy of Microsoft of having multiple data agents working basically simultaneously, trying to accomplish different business cases. So let's go back to have a couple of more slides that I want to go through, and then we'll go and check what the technology does for us. So the first one, you have to go and configure a few things before you can use Microsoft Fabric data agents. This goes from enabling the Copilot and Azure OpenAI settings within your tenant. So that's really important. If you don't enable some of these options, you won't be able to use the Fabric data agents. When possible, remember, as part of some of my previous presentations, you want to enable these capabilities for a small subset of users as well. So let's go and have a quick look at Fabric data agents. I'm here in the Power BI portal. From the get-go, I can go just new item. One of the amazing things, this is available in any Fabric capacity at the moment. So that means that if you are using an F2 to keep your solution extremely cost effective, you'll be able to go and create a data agent. Once that you create the data agent, so you will define a nice name depending on your naming convention, but today we're going to call it just test, or let's call it learning. Now remember, this is new. It's new. The name is new. It's been rebranded. AI Skills was the previous name of this product, and that's been around for around 9 months or a little bit longer. So the first step, you can see you add the information to your data agent. Then you can go and provide a few examples, on how to accomplish a specific query and start playing with it. So now, first step, we add the data source. In our case, we're going to select this lakehouse. You can have multiple different types of data sources, which is really cool. You could have the lakehouse and the semantic model and put specific examples on where the information is going to come from. And also, you will have to help your data agent understand the context of the information. Here you have a good example. We have a lakehouse. We have a lot of tables that we can choose from. So we're going to choose all of them. This example. I'll show you. We'll select everything. Ideally, you won't select as many tables. I think, and you can see now the user experience. So we've done something. Let's start small. I'll show you. Let's choose only one table for now. Or no tables. Let's put here, what are the names of the schools? And we're going to try to disable that and send that question. You can see that by default, we don't know what happened, but it ended up selecting all the tables. I guess something to do with the browser, or it's defaulting because we haven't selected anything, defaulting that to all the tables. And now it is trying to understand, going through all the structure of the different tables and the column names and trying to come back with an answer. So when we look at we expand this information in here, you'll be able to see as well the results of the query executed. And if I scroll down, you'll be able to see as well the query. Now, I know by a fact that this query is incorrect. There is no need of doing a specific union without a specific table. I know that the name of the schools, they just live in this table over here. Remember, so we haven't done so much of a configuration in here. So we selected the tables and we asked a question. Well, real world, you wouldn't do that. Okay, the real scenario. So you will collect the questions that your data agent needs to answer, and you will work out actually what tables you need to be included in that specific data agent. In our case, so if we uncheck all those tables, we're going to ask the same question. And let's see what happens now with the query. Again, select all tables. Let's go and clear the chat. So we start a new session and we refresh this page. And you see all the errors, showing up. To see what happens with preview capabilities of the product. So again, I think we need to give some time to the model to think. Okay. We'll put the question one more time. And let's see if it was able to now to update a little bit the metadata for the data agent. And we're going to look at the same query, scroll down, and now you can see that basically the query is correct. So in a sense, the consumers taking advantage of the data agents don't have to have a technical background at all. But the person who is going to be creating the data agent has to have a really good understanding of the data structures in your data analytics platform, essentially. Yeah, so you have to understand where the information is being stored, what the relationships are between the different tables, and all of that, remember, taking into account as well all the business questions that we want to answer. On top of that, so imagine that we wanted to make our life easier. So depending on the business questions that you're trying to answer, you might decide actually to start creating aggregations of the information that you need. You might decide to denormalize some of that information. Instead of having 20 tables, you might decide to have that information into 3 summarized tables. And you will have to persist that information as part of your data movement process in your data analytics platform. And that might enhance further the user experience when trying to answer some of those data questions. So a lot of opportunities open here. So don't think that you have to use the information as it is, especially if you don't have the information structured in a star schema or a snowflake schema that is already created for serve to serve for reporting purposes. So some cases you might decide, you know what, let's put the information that we need in 3 or 4 tables, and those are the 4 tables that we're going to make accessible to the data agent to answer some business questions. That will definitely enhance the performance of the data agents. But we have more tools. So we have a few more tools that we can use. The first one is the AI instructions, and then the sample queries that you can give your engine. And I'll quickly mention these ones, and then I will show you a solution from a colleague who's built a data agent that is able to answer more questions. AI instructions is basically about giving context to your data agents. And in here, you're going to put all the information that the data agent will need to understand better your data and how to execute that information. Let's go and build on the previous example. So we know that previously it was trying to get the information from 2 different schools, right? So let's go on. We'll ask the same question one more time, and let's see if it combines the information with the union in here. Let's make this bigger for us. We'll give it a sec. You can see it takes time as well. It takes time for it to understand, to go and scan the information. It doesn't take 1 second for the model to answer the question. Okay, there'll be a lag always of a few seconds. That's the time that it takes to convert the information, your question to code, and then to go and execute that into your data stores. So you can see now the answer seems to be correct. It's picking up the information from that specific table. But let's say that if I wanted to get the information from this other table in here, let's try if we can force that by using some of the instructions in here. So we're going to say, when person asks about the school names, get the information from this other table. You can also add so much more information in here than this one. So we're going to leave that in there. I'm going to close it, make sure that it is there. And now we're going to ask the same question. And what is going to happen is that with my question, natural question here, it's going to send this information before as well to help it have context. So there's the typical system instructions if you've been doing work with Azure OpenAI, or if you are using ChatGPT, when you are given the ChatGPT model, how to operate. So you are given the model context on how to execute a specific query. So let's go and click send. And now we're going to change this at the same time. So we expect to see the same. So you can see here it repeated the unit somehow. So let's try to modify this a little bit further. We're going to tell it, hey, look, we want this information from the, here, let's be more specific, only from the table, and let's see what happens now. Why do you think that you have up to 15,000 characters in here? Because the idea is for you to give as much context as you can, and you'll be able to put specifically how to execute some of the queries and perform a lot of more transactions. Let's see what happened in this case. And now you can see basically that based on our instruction, it's getting the information specifically from that table. Now, real world scenario, I wouldn't choose that second table. You will choose only the table that you need. Another thing, so you can give example queries. You can see on the right side, now we have the option to put a specific queries. So if the question is, what are the name of the schools? So I want you to execute, maybe not essentially show me all the records, but show me just the top 3 from the table that we had before. So let's see if we find it. It'd be nice to have some auto-completion in here. So we're going to leave it blank. If we can, we'll build it again. Let me get the name of the table. Let's copy all this. And now we're going to put a small example in here. Okay, so we want to get that from there. Now let's say instead of doing a school name, I want to do a star, and I want to only show 3 options in here. This way you can control as well, maybe not help the model, understand how to execute some of those queries. So let's see, we'll close this. And now we are going to execute the same query. sec, and definitely didn't pay attention to my system instructions, didn't pay attention to my sample query. But this is the type of experience that you might get when using data agents. They are not perfect, but they serve a specific purpose, which is driving more usage of your data analytics platform investment. Remember that. I'm not going to look at fixing this, but this is the type of experience that you get when running a proof of concept or starting with data agents. Now, let's go and have a look at a more robust solution created by one of my colleagues. Let's see where we find it. We're in the right place, and we're going to get this one here, created by Alberto Francisco. And let's have a quick look at some of the good examples. First of all, I will open the instructions. You can see here. We clearly mentioning actually, hey, what the dimensions tables are that we're going to be using, the relationships and the important columns of those tables, the fact tables for those specific columns. If I scroll down, as well some of the business terms, synonyms, query patterns, restrictions, and so on. So this is how you want to use the AI instructions to help your data agents perform better. On top of that, ideally, we might not have example queries in this case. No, but you will add some more example queries. What else? So we've been talking about essentially building the Fabric data agent, but what happens on top of that? So remember, so you could have multiple data sources as well. So we could add a semantic model and basically have a data agent that is able to query multiple data sources. We'll have to help the data agents understand where to get the information from for different cases. In the top right corner as well, you can see that there's a draft mode and a publish mode. So this gives you some flexibility to work on a new version while building something that might deliver some more value, or when you keep optimizing your Microsoft Fabric data agent as well. And the best part of all of this is as well that you can go and deploy your Fabric data agent. You can see this publish option here. When you hit publish, and we're going to publish this one, you'll be given the information for embedding your Fabric data agent as part of other applications. This is the flexibility that we were talking about. So now, if you have a customer website or your own website or your internal employee website, then you can start taking advantage of this endpoint to send queries to the data agents and getting the answers. I think this was one of the best features that was already available as part of AI skills. This has been there for some time, but I guess this is one of the capabilities that I enjoy the most because they are not available as part of Microsoft Fabric Copilot or Power BI Copilot. Of course, in regards to complex queries, so if we go to this other solution, so we can ask, tell me the number of enrollments by school for a specific year. Let's see. During the last year, and you can ask like more real, like relevant questions, and it should be able to answer those simple questions. As far as the data foundations are correct, data quality is correct, and you've done some work on making the information easily accessible to your Fabric data agent as well. So we'll give you some time thinking, and now it comes back with the answer. And while building this, we can even look at the school in here. So joining the enrollments with the school, with the dimension table, and filtering for the last year. This should be fine as far as the entry date in here is the enrollment date. So all these things matter. What happens if you had a created date as well as an entry date? So that'll be difficult for the model potentially to understand it. So all that customization and fine-tuning you are able to do with the system instructions by creating summarized tables, or simple by not making some of that information available as part of the tables or the information within the data agent. So you can see a good example. Now, what if we were going to challenge this with more complex queries, right? So let's use the same information before. Last year for all, let's say, courses, and predict the enrollments for the upcoming year. I know that users are going to challenge the data agent, but at least you want to make them aware of the capabilities of the data agent and what's available in there, right? So you can see this content, it was unable to answer the question. So let's try to remove the last part. And of course, we'll have to know if that information is available or not in here. So you come back with essentially the same answer. So you can see we asked a different question. The courses information is actually not available in my database, even though it tried answering that question, but the answer is incorrect. So you shouldn't even have tried to answer that question. So all these you have to factor in as part of the user experience. How are the users going to try to use your data agent? And the best thing that you can do is to give them the information on the limitations, the capabilities, and what the data agent has been built for, and what business cases you're trying to cover with that data agent. So make sure that you give your users all the information so they understand the limitations of the model, and they don't come back to you saying, hey, this data agent doesn't perform correctly or is not as good as it was promised to be. So we've been talking and playing a little bit on the data agents. One more thing that I wanted to highlight is that with the data agents, now it's going to be available in many more channels. Let me show you an information that I have prepared over here. Let's go back to the limitations. The first one that I want to mention is that I don't have access to do this, but here you can see in my Copilot Studio, so near in the future, all of us were going to have a section added in here, which is basically agents. And within those agents, you'll be able to go and select your Fabric data agent or any of the data agents that you have created. The reason for doing this is because then you can go and embed your Copilot solution into different channels. So that's the end goal. The end goal is not for people to go to Power BI, but maybe to have that data agent available in Microsoft Teams or Copilot 365, or being able to embed that information to some of your web applications as well, with additional capabilities. So this is where the concept of multiple data agents, multiple agents comes into place, right? So don't think of the Fabric data agents as a standalone solution. Think about capabilities that you're going to make available as part of other experiences. And you'll be able to combine agents that are able to perform different activities, and also to have multiple Fabric data agents added within a Copilot solution. And then depending on the question that they are asking, you'll be able to define what Fabric data agent to use. So that's how close we are going to get to this unified experience of having one Copilot that is able to answer all the data questions. And you can see that in here, or maybe not yet, but that's coming soon because it was announced as part of Microsoft Build a couple of weeks ago. And the other thing I wanted to mention is the Fabric SDK. So the Fabric SDK for data agents are basically, that is going to allow you to convert that user experience, that drag and drop experience that we saw before, to actually code that you can put as part of code version control and consider as part of your development lifecycle of data products. So you can see here how you can install the library in a notebook, and as well how to create and evaluate some of those Fabric data agents functionalities by following more mature processes of creating data products. In this specific example, essentially we're defining a data frame with the questions and the expected answers, and then we can go and evaluate our data agent against those specific parameters and get the evaluation summary. So a more mature approach for building data products and taking advantage of data agents. So to summarize for today, I guess, so we talked about the data agents and how they are important for our organization. So remember, so really easy to understand. So they translate a natural language question to a query that can be executed in some of those Microsoft Fabric data stores. When creating the Fabric data agent, it is a good practice to make available only the information that you need for a specific set of questions as part of your business case. So remember, it doesn't support complex queries or questions, but you are able to go and define system instructions. So make sure you give your data agent a specific context on how to work with your tables and columns, because it doesn't have access to any sort of metadata. Ideally, maybe we see it soon, but I like to see back extended properties from SQL Server into the Microsoft Fabric data store, so we can add some more descriptions to the columns and tables within our lakehouse or the warehouse. But okay, remember, system instructions, you can provide sample queries, and remember, there is not one data agent that is going to be able to answer all data questions. So you want to create multiple data agents for different use cases, different personas, different scenarios. And luckily, you also have available now the SDK to consider this more mature approach to building data products with data agents. Hopefully, this was a nice overview on Microsoft Fabric data agents, what they do for you, what limitations you should be taking into account, what the difference with Copilot is, and what the flexibility that you will get from Microsoft data agents is. A lot of exciting capabilities, a lot of exciting news in this space. I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening in the upcoming years in regards to data agents and large language models and being able to query our own data. I think we still have some time, to get to a more mature state, but I'm sure you with the technology that we have available today, you should be able to start taking advantage of it to deliver more value to your organization and to get a better return of investment of your data analytics platform. So stay tuned, don't forget to subscribe, and see you next week.